Last month I heard a story, I forget if it was on the news or a newspaper or a post someplace, that talked about some data centers in a local city that were completed and were waiting for power. One of the stories I heard was that it was Nvidia data centers that were empty and waiting for power. I did a little bit of searching, and I think maybe this Fortune article from November 10th might have been where the Nvidia part came from. And indeed, the town that the data centers are in is in the same town that Nvidia headquarters, at Santa Clara, California. This article here talks about these empty data centers, having to use an archived version of the web page, so it's missing some of the photos and whatnot. But it says here the data center developers have projects in Nvidia's hometown that may sit empty for years because the local utility isn't ready to supply electricity. Talks about this Digital Realty. This is the local utility, Silicon Valley Power. Silicon Valley Power is trying to upgrade their installed capacity, get more connection to bring in more power from outside the city. There's apparently at least 2 data centers that are sitting vacant. Now, I don't know if these are AI data centers or just plain data centers, but you can see how somebody scanning this article might think that they're AI data centers because they're in the same city as Nvidia. They're mentioning OpenAI here. I guess that's the way to make your article, clickbait. Yeah, and like right here, this is kind of interesting. I knew there were a number of data centers in the area. I did not know that there were a total of 57 active or under construction data centers, so that's something I might want to look into. They mentioned that the utility is doing a $450 million system upgrade, and that's mainly running a new 115,000 volt transmission line from where they connect to the outside grid and bringing that more into the center of their distribution network. And I guess that's going on through 2028. So yeah, anyway, I found this article, like I said. It mentioned like one company, but it doesn't say where the data centers are. Okay, I found this article on Tom's Hardware that is a lot more detailed. Mentioned that the data centers totaling nearly 100 megawatts could sit empty for years. Now, this one does say they're built for AI era workloads, remain unpowered while the city races to expand its electricity supply. This article is really good. It mentions Digital Realty 4-story SJC 37 facility and Stack Infrastructure SVY 02A. So yeah, they're both set for 48 megawatts of critical load. Also mentions Nvidia, so I could see where some news reporter or somebody writing a quick little post says, oh, they're Nvidia data centers. Well, they're not. Anyway, armed with this information here, I went and searched for these particular data centers. Yeah, so let's take a look at what I found with that. Okay, yeah, so I searched for the Digital Realty data center here and found this website called Data Center Map, and they list the data center, the address. They give you a map here, map box, I guess it is. And then let me show you the other one here. And yeah, here we go. This is the Stack Infrastructure SVY02A 1200 Memorex drive. Again, more of the information here. This is the bigger one. This one is 560,000 square feet. I've had these two points of interest loaded on Google Maps, and I figured this would be some really interesting urban exploring. So I went out to try to find these 2 data centers. Okay, so this is the first data center. This is the Digital Realty Center at 641 Walsh Avenue. So this was the first one they mentioned in the article, SJC 37. And this one is set up to have a 48 megawatt connection to the local utility lines there, but they don't have the power. They're running a new 115 kilovolt transmission line from up near Levi Stadium, which is where their main power feed is, and they're running that down this corridor, I think. So there's going to be a new power line here probably in a couple of years, and then they can finally hook this guy up here. They've got their own substation, but there's no power to connect. And yeah, this one is 430,000 square feet. I think it's 4 floors. But yeah, anyway, that's this one. But this thing is like about a half of an industrial block here. This is the end of the block, and it goes up about halfway up to that traffic light, which is the next block up. We can go up this way and then turn left, and we'll come up to the next one here. Okay, and here we are at the second data center. This is Stack Infrastructure, and this was built on the site of the former Memorex main building. Headquarters was, I guess, right here. So this is Memorex Drive, and this was where Memorex Corporation was located. That's kind of neat. They have a little information place here. They're started in 1961, Memorex. Now it's kind of confusing because this sign says 1100 Memorex, but the listing and Google Maps says this is 1200. But this is the only building here that has that number. So this is the Stack SVY02A, and this is also 48 megawatts. They're waiting for a grid connection. I'm going to see if I can get around to the back side, see if you can see where that substation is. But yeah, this one goes all the way down the block there, half of a city block, and all the way back there. And this one is 560,000 square feet, so it's 25% bigger than the other one. And again, this one's waiting for grid connection. I guess they've got partial power, and then as the utility completes phases of their upgrade project, which is running through 2028, they'll supply this place with more and more power. Okay, here we got around to the back side of the Stack Infrastructure data center, and yeah, here's the what's called the Memorex Junction substation, probably one of their high voltage lines that runs up here, feeds this thing. Yeah, I guess once they get additional power to this point, then they'll run that over here. They probably have all the connections there. They just have to throw the breaker and turn this place on. So yeah, they've got like some power, it looks like, you know, at least the parking lot lights and some outdoor lights. But yeah, you can see there's no lights inside there. So yeah, this is over 500,000 square feet just sitting here empty. But yeah, this is the second data center that's waiting on power. And let's see, there's supposedly 57 data centers like this, either completed and running or under construction. Now this one and the other one were supposedly approved back in 2019. There was a date mentioned 2022. I don't know if that's when they were completed or when construction started. It's recently been finished. I know the Digital Realty data center down there on Google Street View, the Street View photos show it's still under construction, although it looks like it's complete now. So these are the two that were in that article. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that little urban exploring trip. Yeah, drop your thoughts below in the comments section, And as always, thanks for watching.